Hello, and welcome to 5 Minute Math. Today we are looking at the Readiness Practice resource for 3.3F, representing equivalent fractions. If you are interested in looking at the intermediate or proficient levels for this resource, or any other resource in the Readiness Practice series, you can do so by using the link in the video description. So our first question is talking about Sarah. So Sarah has two delicious chocolate bars that she wants to share with her friends. All right, so let's just draw two chocolate bars like this. If Sarah shares her chocolate bar with 5 friends, what fraction of the bar will each person get? Okay, so let's draw that. Now the trick here is we need to keep Sarah in the picture. If we just draw 5 friends, we're going to miss someone. And so hopefully we're already thinking, I'm just going to put F number 1, that's going to stand for friend number 1. We're already thinking a good way to split this up. So I'm going to make this F number 2. So I've got 2 friends so far. I need 3 more. So I'm going to make these last 3 people, and I'll label them F3, then F4, and then F5. All right, so I've got Sarah and her 5 friends. Now you notice what I did here is there are 2 different chocolate bars. I know that if I split 6 in half, because I've got 6 total people, I can get 3 and 3. 3 on one chocolate bar, 3 on the other chocolate bar. So I want to draw a model and a number line to represent what's been going on, okay? And so let's do this. So I'm going to take some lines, and you see I've got my friends lined up underneath it. This is going to represent. Now, here's the tricky part. I need to show what fraction of the bar each person will get. This is not 1/6, because I don't have just one whole. I've got 2 wholes. So I've got 2 wholes because I've got 2 chocolate bars. So what fraction is each of these people getting? Well, if I look at this whole, I get 1/3, and then I get 1/3, and then I get 1/3. So really what I have is 6/3 because my 6/3 equals 2 wholes. I can also represent this with a number line. Now when I do this with a number line, typically we go from 0 to 1. Remember, I've got 2 whole chocolate bars. So I'm going to say 0, I'm going to say 1, and I'm going to say 2 because I have 2 chocolate bars. And then each chocolate bar is split up into 3 parts. So I'm going to put 1/3, 2/3. It's my 3/3, 4/3, 5/3, and then 6/3. So I need to first write the amount that each person gets, right? So I'll say each person gets 1/3 of a bar. Now I also need to write it as 2 equivalent fractions. Okay, so 1/3 equals. Now, there are many different ways to cut equivalent fractions, right? And so I'm going to say answers may vary in regards to how you put this together. Your models may vary. And so let's think about how we can cut this chocolate bar in half. The easiest way would be to simply draw a line straight across. So watch what I'm going to do here. I'm going to just do this. I'm going to cut each of these pieces in half. Now, what do I have? Well, I've got each chocolate bar is now 1/6, right? So I've got 1/6, 1/6, 1/6, 1/6. So that 1/6, 2 of those together is what made up that 1/3. So I can say 1/3 equals 2/6. I could also do the same thing here. I could take each of these thirds on my number line and cut them in half. So this would be 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, and so on. So we know that we have equivalent fractions one way to look at it is when we take the regular fractions and we cut those fractions in half. Or we can cut those fractions into 3 equal parts, or cut those fractions into 4 equal parts. We could make them as small as we want to. That's one way to think of equivalent fractions. All right, so my 6/3 is equal to 2 is also equal to 12/6. So those are a few different ways we can draw models and draw number lines. Your models might be different, but each person gets 1/3 or 2/6 of a chocolate bar. For our next problem, we are looking at Lakeisha, and she has a pizza cut into 8 equal slices. So let's give her a pizza. All right, and then she eats 4 slices of pizza. So let's say 6 equal slices. All right, 6 are hard. So what I'm going to do is I always find it easiest to kind of draw an X, but not a regular X. You kind of have to draw a fat X. Okay, and then you get this. All right, so that's 6 equal slices. She eats 4 slices. So let's give Lakeisha 4 slices. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so that's Lakeisha. And she eats 4 out of 6 pieces, so we'll call that 4/6. Now we've got Thomas. Let's give Thomas a pizza. And see if we can make them close to the same size. That's pretty good. So what do we know about Thomas? It's the same size, but it's cut only into 3 equal slices. So this is where we have to make kind of a peace sign like this. And so for Thomas, I'm going to say that he eats the equivalent portion of pizza. So I'm going to try to shade that same part that I see over with Lakeisha. And we see that it actually fits right there. And so we can say Thomas is eating 2/3 of the pizza because that's that same portion. Lakeisha just has smaller slices, so there's more of them. All right, so we can say that 4/6 is equal to 2/3. Thomas ate 2/3. And another way to visualize this would be that if I take each of these, since I have an equal number of slices on Lakeisha, 6 of them, I can take each 2 and I can group them together. And I can take my 6 slices and group them into just 3 larger slices. And you see that I've got those 2 larger slices right there. Now, if I wanted to do this on a number line, we could do the same thing. We could say, here's 0, here is my 1 whole. Now I'm going to start with Lakeisha. I'm going to break it up into sixths. Now, how I actually break it up into sixths is, everyone might do it differently, is I actually break it up into thirds because I know that if I take my thirds, it's easy for me to estimate and I can cut each third in half. I'm going to get sixths because that's the relationship between thirds and sixths. So a sixth is a half of a third. And so I can say I got 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, 5/6, right? So they ate that 4/6. Now, how do I show that that is equivalent to my 2/3? Remember, I can group 2 of these. So I can say these 2 together are going to be 1/3. These 2 together are going to be 1/3. As long as they're equal sizes, you can group them like that. 1/3. And so you notice that I've got 2/3 right there up at the 4/6. So that is the correct answer, though your models may vary. You might not have drawn your pizza as a circle. Sometimes you have a pan pizza and you want to draw it as a rectangle. That could also work. We need to see that 2/3 is equal to 4/6 in both a model and a number line. All right, so for our third problem, we need to draw a number line and pictorial models, fraction of a set and fraction of a whole, showing 2/8 and at least 2 other equivalent fractions. Okay, so let's start with my number line. And this is definitely one in which the models may vary. So I will put that down here. Models may vary. All right, so we need to start with 2/8. So what I do for eighths is I cut my line in half, and I'll go ahead and label this. And then I cut each half in half. So that's 1/4. 1/2 is also equal to 2/4. It's 3/4. And then I cut each fourth in half. So I cut it in half 3 different times. Half, and then a half of a half, and a half of a half of a half. So look what I've got right here. I've got 1/8. I've got 2/8. I've got 3/8. 4/8. 5/8. Let's make that look like 8. And so this is just something, as you are working with fractions, you learn the relationship between numbers, and you know that 2 and 4 and 8 all go together really easy. And then you cut the 8s in half to make 16ths. And you cut the 16ths in half to make 32nds, and so forth. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for 2/8. So I've already got 2/8 right there. I need to show 2/8 is equal to. Now, look what I did here. First, we can see that 2/8 is equal to a larger fraction. So we can do this right here. We can say each of these is 1/4. So 1/4 is equal to 2/8. So I've got 1/4 is equal to 2/8. So I just need one more. And when in doubt, just cut each one in half. So if I cut each of these in half, I'm going to get two smaller fractions. And I won't write all of them out, but we can see what happens if I cut an eighth in a half. Well, if I take 8 pieces and cut each piece in half, I now have 16 pieces. So that's 1/16, 2/16, 3/16, and then we see right here 4/16. Now, hopefully you see the pattern. Look at my numerators. 1 times 2 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16. So we are definitely following a pattern there. So 2/8 is equal to 1/4 and 4/16. Now I can keep cutting each of those pieces in half and get smaller and smaller. I can say 8 32nds. I can say 16 64ths. I can keep going if I want to, but those would be really, really small fractions. Now I want to show this with fraction of a set and fraction of a whole. So let's start with fraction of a set. So what I want to do is I want to show you 2/8. And so let's just do this. I'm just going to draw an array. And that's going to be my fraction of a set. So I'm going to go ahead and shade this in. All right, so there is my 2/8. Now, what I want you to see here is you can also see 1/4 if you look vertically. So look right here. You see how I've got 4 sets. I grouped 2 of them together to make a set. So now I've also got 1/4 is equal to 2/8 because one column out of 4 columns is shaded incompletely. And then if I wanted to, I can make my 16ths by simply cutting each of these pieces in half. Now I need to cut not just those 2, but all 8 of these in half. And once we get this, we will see that what was shaded in didn't change. I just changed the size of the groupings of them. Now I've got 4 pieces, 4 smaller pieces out of 16 total pieces. So that would be one way to represent this with fraction of a set. You can also do it with fraction of a whole. You want to make it kind of large enough so that you can see it. So let's, on this one, let's make it a circle. And so a rectangle would also work if you want to. Okay, so we'll make it look like this. And so I'm going to start with my 2/8. All right, so let's see. let's get back to, there we go. Let's get back to our drawing. Okay, so you see how I'm starting here? I did a half, and then I have half of a half as a fourth. Then I take each of these, cut them in half again. I've got eighths. So first, let's shade in my 2/8. All right, so there's my 2/8. Now, hopefully you see, I'm going to draw let's draw a blue outline. I can group these eighths, two of them together, to make fourth. And so I've got 4 equal pieces, and only one of them is shaded in. And then I could do that same thing I did earlier. I can cut each of these eighths in half. And unfortunately, the pieces get very, very thin. So after a while, it becomes kind of hard to do it on a circle. But you can say, all right, so now I've got 4/16. So your models might be different, and your equivalent fractions might be different. Those aren't the only two fractions equivalent to 2/8, but those are different ways to show 2/8 and two equivalent fractions with a number line, fractions of a set, and fractions of a whole. If you are interested in looking at the proficient or the intermediate versions of the 3.3F or any other readiness practice resource, you can do so by using the link in the video description.